Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. What is today? It's Wednesday,
19th.
July 19th. I'm joined again today by JC. How are you doing, JC?
I'm doing good.
Thanks for joining me in Studio B. This is the first time we've got to do Studio B.
Another night in Doug's bar.
Yeah, another night. Brought to you by Coors Light.
The only thing that could be better is doing it from Doug's pool.
Doug's pool and Papa and Papa Murphy's Pizza. Yeah, we can use the pool as a backdrop.
Spoiling me. Thank you.
So, hey, what have you been up to?
Just working. It's been an extremely busy year for me, for one thing. And I've snuck off a few days here and there, like I was telling you before. Last week I had a birthday, so I snuck a couple days in, but I really haven't taken an extended vacation once this year. I've just been too busy. You know, when you're in a sales role and the business keeps coming, you got to take it when it's there. So I've had actually a pretty tremendous year that way. So
this economy is not having an effect on your stuff?
No, it's our communities. I think the Sacramento region is rebounding, nicely from COVID, and I don't know if I told you before, but they said, right? The media said that
those people
that 75% of all restaurants are going to be gone forever after COVID, and
they found a way,
and that's partially true. But all that means is that someone's going to come in and buy that space up for pennies on the dollar or whatever be, and have a new restaurant ready to go. They just gotta clean it up a little bit and staff it and do it. And so there's been a lot of that going around. I think there's a lot of stuff that's been happening in downtown Sacramento. That stuff's opening up again, which is good. And things seem to be trending in the right direction, economy-wise, I think. Hope it lasts. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, for those who, it's been a minute since JC's been on, but JC's he actually has seen a UFO. And I didn't bring your diagram. I should have brought your diagram up here. But one of the things I do here is that I bring the person on the street in. I don't have Louis Elizondo and Jeremy Corbell and Bob Knapp, or is it Bob Knapp? George Knapp.
Yeah.
And those guys. But I wanted to hear we got a lot going on right now since you last made an appearance. And thanks again. And lots going on. First, this all kicked off with the Grush thing. I mean, he came out. I mean, where were you when? And it was News Nation, and it was Coulthard. Is it that dropped the bomb? But and he's talking about he hasn't seen anything firsthand.
That's what's kind of weird about it, right? Is that the guy's testifying before Congress, and he's saying this stuff is fact, but it's not stuff that he's actually seen. It's just he knows people that have seen it, or he has direct contact with the files or the people or whatever. I personally didn't really watch it because I just kind of got the blurbs afterwards about it, pieces of it, highlights from it. So
and Coulthard is kind of I don't know if you know his history, but I just found this out today. He'd done some piece, and I don't know how true this is. I didn't get a chance to research it, but he's famous for reporting unfactual things, in his past.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, as soon as I saw that, I kind of thought, oh, that's kind of weird. I mean, they got this guy dropping the bomb. The News Nation or whoever picked him, or wherever Grush gave him this story, I guess.
Right.
And it's like, why did Grush pick this guy? I mean, of all the people, and they say, well, the New York Post it didn't have time they wanted to fact check it, I guess.
Yeah.
And News Nation, which have you ever heard of them before this?
Yeah, I have. Absolutely. I mean, they kind of made their hay, or popped up on the map as an alternative news source when, during the pandemic, when people were really pushing back against mainstream media and the narratives for good reason, right? And it's one of the reasons that people are turning to it, that a network like that could be successful. Apparently, they were talking about it on Joe Rogan today, and apparently I think it's owned by, or was started by like WGN.
Really?
I think that's what Jamie had looked up when they were talking about it on Rogan's show today, that it was started by WGN. So It's so that's what he did, right? So he did an interview for them first, and then did he testify before Congress after that?
Yeah, he testified. I believe he testified after, but he's going to again on July 26th. This is when, we won't jump ahead too much, but that's the next step in this.
Right.
Is that now what's happening is there's a lot of whistleblowers coming forward. They've got Chuck Schumer, other senators, and I forget the name, Blanchett, or there's one that's coming out. Burkett.
Yeah.
I think he's the one that's going to kind of be
Tim
the
Burkett,
ringmaster, and he said he doesn't want to. And I know UFOers out there, you've heard this whole thing, but you haven't heard it from the guy in the street like us.
Yeah.
You've heard it from all the highfalutin podcasts, but this is how we feel on the street. But he, Blanchett, I think he's going to be the ringmaster. And he's not telling. He's going to release. I heard he's going to release his whistleblowers tomorrow of who they are, but he didn't want them to come out too soon because of retribution to them.
Right.
He's saying that, what Grush had said is that people were fearful of their life. He literally said when he was on with Cothart, who's the English guy? I think it's that was on News.
Yeah, like
Cothart.
Yeah, something like
that.
And
he had stated that people had died, had gotten killed by, in these, and we know back in the history, we've gone over the history of this way back, and the one that I cite every time is Forrestal. He was MJ-12. He wanted to come out and let the people know what, about Roswell and about the ETs, and he wanted, the public to know about the craft, and the president, the other 11 said no, and so he's the one that ended up magically got crazy, got put into a facility in I think it was Bethesda back east. Magically turned up on the 10th floor or whatever, and
jumped out the window or something.
Magically jumped out.
Yeah.
They're worried about him committing suicide, but yet they left everything open. Or or put him in a room where there was just glass where you could jump out.
Stranger things have happened, right? Look at that. Look at the Jeffrey Epstein story, right? Where he made an unrecorded phone call the night before he died, and then the next night, the camera mysteriously, stops working. The guards mysteriously fall asleep, and he mysteriously hangs himself. But the coroner said it looked more like he'd been choked. But
yeah, what are you gonna do?
The official word is what we all need to swallow. So,
but what is it?
Yeah. Who knows? Who was it that said that the truth? Maybe the truth, and maybe the reason that things have been so hidden. The truth has been so hidden is because there are a lot of people were killed to keep the truth hidden, over the course of what are we looking at, 60 years now that this,
they're calling for amnesty for anybody who's done any wrongdoing with the exception of murder.
Yeah, but you can't.
Is there documentation to this? Oh, hey, who killed this guy? Where would that document even be?
And that's what we're talking about.
Those people are dead now, anyway.
Let's just say that it's all true, right? That it's all real. That the United States has 12 crafts. They've been back engineering beginning. God only knows when. They said that one of them was even found in an archaeological dig. So who knows how old that is and how long it's been here.
One of them was found in a farmer's field.
It had been
there for eons.
Like, what's really at stake?
It was buried in the field like it had been there. They said that thing has been there since the dinosaur age.
Right. Like, what's really at stake with all that? With the secrecy of that technology. How much money is that worth? How much technology How much money is that technology worth? How much power can that secretly behold to the ones that hold that secret, right? Like, it's unfathomable, really. So the death of a commoner, the man on the street, let alone some engineer that walked into the wrong room and or whatever, or some maybe he was maybe some guy that did decide to violate his NDA agreement at Lockheed Martin. You don't think that his life is certainly not worth more than that secret. I guarantee you that. I guarantee. I believe 100% that probably.
Well, one thing they say, whoever is in possession of any of these craft, can you imagine a flying saucer, UAP or whatever? If you have that, that's the most. Think about it.
Yeah.
That's probably the most valuable thing in the world.
Yeah.
It is literally, and I just heard this the other day, and I didn't even think about that. That is, this thing crashes in my yard, I'm keeping it because it's
just the knowledge of it, right? Just the knowledge of it, the experience of it.
Well, they say that the stockholders, and we use Lockheed Martin or Raytheon or whoever has it, the stockholders are going to be worried, because they had this whatever. I don't know about the stockholders, but it's just it's incomprehensible.
It's incomprehensible.
What this is, and is it? I mean, I don't know. We were just talking about this before the show. Is that when Grush came out, hair on my neck stood up. I said, "This could be it." Yeah. This, and then I thought, "Oh, it's going to be another one of these. What's it going to be? They're going to discredit this guy, and they haven't been able to do that."
Of course, all he's doing is saying words. There's no hard evidence.
He's got nothing.
He's got nothing, right?
I mean, he may have some. Okay, all right. I don't want to say he's got nothing. He may have documents, and he's seen pictures. He's seen a lot of things, and he's been told a lot of things. Well, but he can name names.
Well, and that's important if he had to name names, and there's a lot of speculation going around who the people are that are going to testify. And George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell were talking about on their episode of Weaponized this week, which I listen to every week. I think it's great. So people are asking, is Bob Lazar going to testify? You think about the time frame that this really, from the UFO phenomenon, right? They've been seen since the dawn of man, right? There's cave drawings and weird hieroglyphs in the pyramids, and even pictures in the Sistine Chapel that are people like, that looks like a UFO kind of a thing or whatever, but let's just take the modern era and say, okay, so, from World War II until now, kind of the thing, the atomic age, right? That is when the phenomenon seems to be the most prevalent. There's really only been one guy who's come out and said this before, David Grush, is Bob Lazar, right?
And I don't know if I've told you this before, I'm not a huge Lazar fan.
No, I mean, he doesn't care.
I know he doesn't care, but it's kind of like...
He's not in it for fame. That's what's one thing.
Well, he's selling stuff. I mean, he's making money off of his thing. I almost say that, there's a lot of things that went on in his... But, I mean, they've tried to discredit him. I mean, that's the deal. He's coming out, and they can't stop him, so they try to discredit him.
They came out hard, and I'm sure they do that to everyone. They do that
that's what they... and that's how they do it.
But but just getting back to what we're talking about, if there's 12 craft, right? And let's just say that at one point in time they were all in one place, and since then they've been divvied up or moved around or wherever it is. The fact that only one, like I said, let's just hypothetically, let's just say it's all true, right? They've got bodies, they've got craft. Let's say that the alien autopsy video that was leaked years
it's
ago.
real.
Let's say that it was real. Right? That only one person has ever come out and said, one person that is, somewhat credible is Bob Lazar, right? The guy's never deviated from his story. There is, a lot of his stuff has been removed from the histories of where he went to school and stuff, but there is record of him at Los Alamos. As a what was he like? He was like a physical, or the guy was a rocket engine or rocket scientist, whatever he was doing. Like there is evidence of him doing that, right? Like he says. So the other stuff, yeah, probably be easy to manipulate. I mean, how valuable is that secret worth?
Well,
to
he
some
only
people,
he only produced one. He was only there at Area 51 for a few weeks. He indicated it was a couple months, not really long.
Yeah.
I think he said only
Yeah.
a few months
Yeah.
for himself, but
Yeah.
he's only able to produce an EG&G contract, one pay stub for like 2 weeks, and it's surmised that he wasn't actually the man. He was a guy that checked for radiation. He was there, and nobody's disputing the fact he was there,
Right.
but he wasn't there to the extent that they
Right.
said. There's a couple different things. One thing came out, and I don't know, I'd have to see who said this because it's really weird. They said that he wouldn't have been in S4, which is where he always says he was.
Yeah.
S4 is an area, but they said that S4 is a lower, it's underground. He goes,
Right.
he didn't have the clearance to be in S4.
Well, it's beside the point. My point
Yeah.
is, getting back to what I'm saying, that it's pretty remarkable that there haven't been more people that have come out and said stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, like, why isn't that? Like, I mean, probably because they knew they would get killed if they did.
Yeah.
That there was a chance that they would be offed. They would be, given cement shoes in the bottom of Lake Havasu or wherever the hell they,
Yeah.
out in the desert that they could. There's all this stuff's happening in the desert, right? It's easy to make
Yeah.
people disappear in the desert.
Well, I think,
So-
like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, is that there's a government, I think, there's a government above, there's our, the we the people government. I think there's something above that.
Yeah, it's the
That's
military
running-
industrial complex.
Yeah, but what is it?
It's the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Yeah.
And it's all
Well,
the-
who's
and all
running?
the
Somebody's
people
got
that
to
are
be running
contracted.
this. Somebody's got to be you can't just be a bunch of monkeys running around. Who's running?
You
Yeah.
want to know who the guy
Who
is.
is the
Who's
guy
I don't think
that's-
it's one guy. I think it's a cabal
Or it's a
of
team,
people.
or it's another MJ12.
It's hedge fund companies that are, they're hedge fund companies, but they're not really hedge.
Yeah, there's that.
a lot of money that moves around because this is worth so much money. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
money's what controls.
Well, they've been
everything.
pumping black project money
Oh, God.
in there
They're
for
pumping-
50 years.
They're pumping money
Yeah.
into Ukraine at a rate they can't even keep track of it. Right? There's $6.2 billion. They actually accidentally sent $6.2 billion too much stuff, and that was a couple weeks ago. And then there was something earlier this year that they had sent too much stuff. And they said that it was the way they did it was they undervalued the price on the equipment. The weapons that they were sending, right? And that's the thing. They say they're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. They're not sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. They're sending billions of dollars to the defense contractors
Yeah.
who are shipping the weapons to the Ukraine.
Well, they're giving
Right.
the Ukraine billions of dollars, and
they're
then the
pay-
billions of dollars are
yeah,
buying.
and they're the ones that are
They're
paying.
buying our defense.
Well, it's the
companies'
same bullshit.
product.
It's
So
the
it's-
same bullshit. It's the same bullshit
Yeah.
where the United States, American taxpayer dollars, you and me, the man on the street, is paying $100 for a fucking stapler, dude.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's like we're paying $100 for a stapler. We're paying $500,000 for one Stinger missile, which is probably worth, probably cost them $75,000 to make or less.
Yeah.
And they're marking it up that much, and it's a no bid deal. And so it's like the amount of money is unfathomable. And when you start talking about UFO technology, hypothetically, if this is all real and everything they say is true, that's a gravy train for those people, for the military-industrial complex, the ones that are getting the money to fund the research behind closed doors. It's a tremendous gravy train that is.
Well, do you realize the ramifications of this disclosure, though, on those companies?
Yeah, and that's what's scary about it, because that's what makes me lean towards that it might be real, because I don't think that in a time like we were saying before, like 40 years ago when they were developing the stealth fighter and the stealth bomber and that kind of stuff, and people saw them for the first time, and like maybe there would be some sort of obfuscation and some misdirection that they would say, that there was somebody in a back channel, early internet forum that was like, it's a UFO kind of a thing, and feeding misinformation, and and with the intent to obfuscate the stealth fighter program, right, or stealth bomber program, or whatever it is. And at this point, I just don't see it happening that same way. I think that we're too advanced as a civilization now, or the way that technology works now. I think that we're not that gullible, right? And that's part of what the pressure is that, we have cell phones, we have technology, we have, we've seen things even in media, right? With like the CGI that we see in movies and stuff like that, and the things that they can create, like, it's not like that. I don't think that there's going to be, orbs flying around. Like the craft that I saw, and we've talked about it, was unique. And one of the reasons I haven't reported it was because it was unique. And I don't know what it was, but it wasn't like any report that I read. And I read through a lot of stuff. But as people see saucers and they see orbs and they see Tic Tacs and they see these things, like, I don't think that there's any benefit to, in a day of Twitter and, social media and stuff like that, like the effort to combat a secret weapons development program with this level of misinformation, to the point where, some dude is saying that, the United States has 12 craft, and there's, congressional hearings going on, and they're rewriting legislation with key words to get to the bottom of stuff. And it's like, I just don't see it as like a misinformation campaign to disguise a government weapons program. I just don't see it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
So what's going to happen?
I know that the government is capable of that.
What's going to happen when they pull the curtain back and we've got extraterrestrial biological entities coming? Well, they call them non-world. They've got that buzz
EBEs or whatever they're calling them nowadays.
Yeah, extraterrestrial biological entities, but they have a non-human NHIs or some non-human entities.
Yeah,
NHIs. Are they going to march these things out? All of a sudden, can you picture it? It's like, okay, well, here we go. We're gonna. Here's one right now.
Like that, and it looks like that alien autopsy video that was, that was real. That was real. That was leaked. So, can you imagine that? How crazy that would be?
Here's a flying saucer.
Well, here's one of the things that's, and that's one of the things that's so scary about me, because in the end of days, if that's what it was, right? If there's an expiration date, right? What if just go down a rabbit hole? What if, like, some of the craziest conspiracy theories are through, like that they met with, the aliens came and they met with Eisenhower after they, and they communicated, and they said, we're going to give you guys 65 years to do something, and then it's like, in 65 years from now, we're going to have to take control, right? And like, we're going to be visiting, and we're going to be doing some things to set up our base camp of operations here, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And maybe that's what the race has been. Maybe that's why the secrecy has been, because they're trying to figure out a way to stop the invasion from happening that's inevitable.
Maybe they want the public to know.
And maybe at the end of the...
it's like, we better let people know what they're up against.
And maybe that time is coming soon, right? Yeah. And so right now they don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe now they just don't give a shit.
Well, we need the public to know what's coming.
They're going to protect their own butts. They're going to walk away from it all quietly.
They're going to go in their bunkers underneath.
Yeah, and once they can get away from, once they can get the legislation that says that they have immunity, all the people that are still alive, because we're talking multiple generations now that it must have been keeping this a secret, that that they'll find they can live their final days in peace and not in prison, and watch the sunset until
they don't need to worry. They can talk about whatever
until that mothership arrives and blocks out the sun.
Yeah,
and then it's over. And it could be that scary. It could be nothing like that. Who knows? But it's just kind of just this whole thing. Like, I don't believe for a minute that it's a misinformation campaign to disguise a military weapons program, a new type of weapons program, because it's such a huge, tremendous leap in technology from what we could see every day in our skies to what we occasionally see in the skies, and these military pilots are seeing. It's just it doesn't mesh with the old way of doing things.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of scary that way. It's kind of scary because I don't think we're ready for it. You know, we were talking earlier about all the craziness that's going on in the world. You know, we're closest to nuclear war that we've been since the Cuban Missile Crisis. You know, politics are absolutely out of control. There's so much hatred because there's such a huge divide with people, and not just in our country, but all over the world. You know, how deep the rabbit hole you go is how much you'll see, but it's out there. People are mad. They're angry. You know, we're coming off of COVID. Like, COVID,
yeah.
What you want about COVID. I've got some really, you know.
Did you get vaccinated?
No, I did not.
You never did.
And I never felt like I needed to. And
never got sick?
And I got COVID twice. And I was fine. I've had worse hangovers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I just, you know, and then not one person that didn't take the vaccine regrets not taking the vaccine. I guarantee you. But, you know, this thing in Ukraine, and then you've got the other thing I was saying, look at this stuff with AI. Like, this stuff with AI is scary, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when you start talking about, you know, I mean...
Well, what about quantum computing? They think that this is coming up where this thing is so fast, it can figure out anything. It can figure out the cure for cancer.
Right, I mean, we're getting close. We're getting close to the singularity, like really close to it, where computers are smarter than humans, and it's like it doesn't, where they can think on their own, they're smarter than humans, and I mean they're not going to have any alternative. I mean, we're talking Skynet type.
Yeah,
stuff, right?
They're going to take over. Right?
I mean, they're going to see what we do to the planet as a species. We're just. I mean,
I
always remember Agent Smith's speech in the first Matrix movie to Morpheus about human beings, right? And he's like, I forget the words exactly. It's pretty cool, but he just talked about human beings as like a cancer. It's like the closest thing that they resemble. He's like, I did all the studies, and it's like, what was the most life form that they resembled? And it was like a virus, right? They just consume and grow and consume and grow, and you look at it, and
it's true.
And you look at it on a macro scale, it's like, yeah, that's what we do. Joe Rogan jokes, he's like, you look at it and it's like, well, what do these people do? Well, they just continue to make better things. Well, yeah, they make better things, and they constantly consume while they're doing it, and they grow, and it's like everywhere you look, you know, what used to be beautiful land 20 years ago is now covered in houses, and all the indigenous species that live there are getting run over by cars and decimated, and just with no regard for, you know, especially here in California, right? They're just building all these new homes, and then they're complaining about we don't have enough water, and you know, haven't built a new reservoir in this state in 30 years, but the population increased by 60 million people in the last 30 years, or whatever it is, with not one new reservoir added. It's just like, it doesn't make sense, all this stuff. And it's like, it's just really sort of...
Well, it's like the song, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot.
Yeah.
I heard that the other day. Went, God, isn't that true?
It's a great lyric. But all this just madness, right? All this craziness that's going on in the world, in our country, and it's like, oh, we're just going to sprinkle this these UFO revelations right on top of it. And it's like a big, gigantic shit sandwich with UFO revelations sprinkled on top of it. Like, what a time to be alive, right? With all this madness going in.
Well, I just can't fathom what it's going to be like if this is true. If they march this, if they let it out that these things are. And remember, this isn't going to be a fast. They were talking about having a fast thing where we're releasing all the information once. It's going to be very slow. In fact, after the testimony, after the.
Well, we don't know, right? So it'll be, like you said, Grush can name names. So,
it's more than him, though, coming
out. What if it is... What if it's some bigwig from Lockheed Martin?
They say there's one of those coming, too.
What if he's some bigwig from Lockheed Martin?
I don't know why he would, though. I don't know, unless he's scared about what's coming.
Or like you said,
he's like, I need to get this, we need to have the public know, because there's a real problem out there.
Right. Like maybe it's
this thing's being run by extraterrestrials. Right, the world's being run by extraterrestrial biological entities.
Well, it's like they always joked in the old thing in the old movies, right? It's like, I forget, like, what was it Independence Day, The first one, there was like, there was half the people were like, the end is near, kind of a thing, and the other people are on top of the rooftops with signs saying, welcome aliens, and
they got like roached.
That. And it's like, and I don't mean to be all biblical about it, but it's like, it's the end of life as we know it. If it's true, it does. It may be the end of life that we may, as a species, cease to exist, because if they have that kind of technology and they're going to be here for a reason, and that has nothing to do with us, unless they want us to be their slaves. You know what I mean? But in one way or another, it's the end of life as we know it, right? It changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes, the foundation of everything. The fact that we've known that we've been lied to by so many for so long, because we're already getting that lie, right? We're already getting this. We're being lied to so much all the time in manipulative ways by the media, right? They don't always tell the truth, and they don't always, and they admit, important stories for different biases, and they highlight other stories for different biases, and they want you to rile up, and they want to rile people up, and they want to keep you in the dark about other things, and it's like, it's a really, really, really strange thing, right? And so, like, this would be,
it'd be a ride. Well, you remember Contact, when I'm really worried about people that are Cosmos, things could melt down. Things could melt down.
I think that things would definitely melt down. I mean, it's already like, the fuse is so short already, and the grass is so dry.
Look at how people act now.
It's so bad.
Are you noticing that people or don't, the way they act compared? There's no courtesy anymore.
It's empathy, right? So I read this really interesting article last week about empathy, and how people lack basic empathy now, right? So it's the people that talk in the movie theater. It's people that make a scene at the counter at the fast food place, right? They've got no concern at all for anybody else around them, how they're inconveniencing anybody, right? Yeah. It's people that don't use their turn signal, and it's people that it's people that throw, like, I see an increase of people littering, right? Like throwing their trash
out the window of the car.
And it's like, what the fuck, man? It's like, what? Like, it's just it's
basic
courtesy, and empathy.
I don't know.
It's just like this thing about people around you, and I think a big part of it is the social media generation that's growing up, and they're just
people are growing into being hermits. I mean, they don't have to talk to people.
It's that they
they don't have to socialize. There's no social.
It's that they're not. They get to be rude.
Yeah.
Without any repercussions for it, right? And so
that's all part of being by yourself, and there's nobody to slap you
when you're on the internet and you say something rude to somebody, and without any fear of any kind of repercussion. It's like that. Then you need to take that into the real world. And,
you could get slapped.
Well, people are getting shot and stabbed and all kinds of stuff. And those people, too, are like, there's people out there that will kill you for a pair of shoes. Let alone if you got a couple $100 in your wallet, and people are desperate. Right, this homeless thing, right? This homeless open air drug market thing, and it's just also, what are we doing, dude? And then we're gonna just, like, all this madness is going on, and then we're gonna sprinkle this UFO stuff on top of it. It makes it, I me, right? We've talked before. I've always been a fan, right? I've always believed in life on other planets, and the universe is too big for us to be the only people, and all that stuff. And I always thought it was kind of cool. And I always thought it would be kind of cool to see a UFO. And when I did, it was nothing like what I thought I would see. And I still think about it every day. But the more this is going on, and the more this is like we're going these congressional hearings, and it's just the more I'm getting scared, dude.
Yeah, that was my same reaction. Is that it was almost more fun to hope that it was real.
Yeah.
than it was for it to really be real.
Yeah, that's what Joe Rogan asked this guy today on his show, Andreessen or whatever his name
Yeah,
is.
this is Andreessen.
And he's like, "Where are you on the whole thing?" And he's like, "You know what? I prefer to have some mystery in my life." And
I agree with him.
It kind of makes sense, right?
It's almost not fun anymore.
It's almost
It's
not
like I don't
fun
want it to be
anymore.
real.
It's almost not fun anymore.
I don't want the thing to just suddenly come walking in here.
Well, and I'm sure, I'm sure there's lots of people out there, that, abductees and stuff like that it hasn't been fun at all.
Yeah.
Ever.
We already know they're
Since it
real because I
happened.
was in a ship. Yeah, that's what they're saying. I was in a ship.
Because they got probed, or because they got abducted and they got probed.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It was a horror. They experienced horror, and like true violent horror, and being abducted, and they're scarred for life, and it's never been fun for them. So.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It was more fun again thinking that I wish it was real. I wish it was real than it might really be real. They may come walking right in here.
It'd be an interesting poll question, right? Because nobody likes being lied to, right? So maybe you can do a poll on your socials or something, that just says, I don't know how you would word it, but where are you? It's something for the fans out there.
Yeah.
People listening to the podcast. Comment on it. Where are you on the rapid transgression of how this is happening so quickly? And it could be no one likes being lied to. No one likes being lied. We all have a desire for the truth. We all want to live deep in our core. I think as human beings, we all have a fundamental core value of honesty, and we want to live truthful, meaningful lives, right? And where are you getting, as who knows? It could be, maybe there'll be a huge revelation in the meeting next week, the hearing, maybe not, but at some point, let's just say in the next 5 years, if we learn that this was all, that we've been lied to for our whole lives, basically.
People were killed because
people were
so they wouldn't talk about it.
And because...
What do you think about the mainstream media really not picking this story up?
I don't trust the mainstream media for anything. And I think that they've been...
Why do you... So they... Obviously, they do it...
Trump broke the world in a way, dude. When Trump won the presidency, a lot of things changed. And for whatever reason...
he's the cause. He's the cause of this.
You can love Trump. You can hate Trump. It's not really about Trump. It's just the fact that he won the presidency, and it just really changed the thing. And it was just because it was the first time in our country, in our nation's history, that they elected somebody that wasn't a politician or a general, or somebody like that.
He used his own money, and he did so he had no one to answer to.
Yeah, and he wasn't.
If he wasn't him, he wasn't some of the things he
wasn't part of the machine, Doug. Is what it was.
If it's funny because we got the best and the worst.
He wasn't part of the machine. There's this game that they play, and
I'm not doing it. Yeah, I'm not doing it.
There's tons of stuff out there. If you there was. What's his face? The guy who got James O'Keefe. Yeah, he had an expose, and where they undercover interviewed the guy from BlackRock, and he basically said, "Yeah, politicians are bought and sold."
Yeah,
and Bobby Kennedy Jr. talked about that too. It's when we allowed money into politics, is when everything got screwed up because the way that money gets into politics. Yeah.
Well, that's who you answer to. That's
who you
answer
to.
I don't want to say the slave, but you have to answer to whatever person gives you the money. If they give you millions of dollars, you got to do what they want.
Yeah, right.
And that's why they gave you the money.
But that wasn't.
I don't know why this is such a mystery.
Trump wasn't part of that, right? He wasn't part of that machine. He was because all of them, they all loved Trump. Trump was just this celebrity rich guy. And they all loved Trump until he when he went into politics, he became the devil, and they put both sides, Republicans and Democrats, put a united front against him, because he wasn't part of their
Wasn't their team. Was not their team.
He was a rich celebrity, but he wasn't part of the government elite class, dude. He wasn't part of that. And for him to get in, and so getting back to your question, so in the media, who is part of that and covering that up and making sure that they don't, that the owners of those media companies are tightly aligned with their political friends that they hobnob with at the state dinners
at the
and
country
stuff
club.
like that, in the country club. Right, and so they stopped telling the truth. They made up stories and ran with it, and they became the cable news channels came, and it's like the cable news channels stopped reporting the news and became opinion shows, partisan opinion shows, and on both sides, and it's just so you can't trust them at all either. None of them. It's you can watch your local news a little bit to see about the people.
Well, they're not talking about this.
There were people that were killed down the street. they will.
We have the body count. You have the body count.
Right,
you turn on the TV in the morning. What's the body count?
Yeah. So but it's like here, in Las Vegas, that stuff that happened in Las Vegas a few weeks ago, where they said the UFO crashed, right, and the cops were there, and they said they saw an alien.
What did you think about that story?
That was an interesting story. I don't know. Those guys seemed like they were pretty freaking scared. It was.
Well, they had the aliens inside the tractor, like they thought it was a spacecraft or something.
I couldn't really see it. I looked at the.
They had some good video. It wasn't clear.
Yeah.
But it was a lot closer up. It could have been doctored. I don't know.
I don't know either. But the local news in Las Vegas covered it, which was kind of cool. But it's Las Vegas, right? Well, yeah, George
Vegas doesn't care.
But it's interesting you say that, because I texted you the other night. So I was in my backyard. I was after my softball game, and it was hot, right? So it was 103 that day.
Did you win?
No, we did not win. It was my first game.
You drank some beer?
I was whooped, so I drank some beer.
Okay,
afterwards.
that's all right then. You won.
And then I went home and I put my shorts on and I went out by the pool. And I jumped in the pool and drank a couple more beers, and I was just sitting there on my back patio, and kind of, the sun was setting to my left, and I'm looking at the sky to the north, and I'm looking a little bit to the sky to the east, and it's like the sky was like purple. It was like a purple shade of blue, dark blue, before it became black, and just from the sunset. There was no clouds or nothing, but and I heard that plane flying around, and I know I've lived in Sacramento long enough to know what the CHP plane sounds like, and it flies around big circles around Sacramento all the time, and it's got big flashing lights, so you can't miss it. It's kind of always at the same altitude. It's really loud, but it was kind of doing like loops, like right around my neighborhood, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Oh, is that when you sent me the note?
So I stood up.
Have you seen this?
So I stood up and I looked at the plane, and I saw fucking Starlink.
Oh,
Starlink was going right over. Like, I stood up at the perfect time.
Oh, yeah.
I looked up, and it was just right there.
Like the beat of...
It was just a long, string of lights high in the sky, and it was moving fast. And I immediately, grabbed my camera and turned it to video, and recorded it. And I'm looking at my camera, I'm looking at it, and I'm I zoom it and everything. It doesn't show up. It doesn't show up. And it's an iPhone 11. It's got a good camera, but it's it doesn't show up. So video camera, they still are not
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on using the camera,
well,
but it's
that's what they MUFON. That's what they tell you. It's that's what they tell you. Your camera is, you got to get scale first of all.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. It's
it was cool to see Starlink, though. I'd never seen it. I'd only seen it, I'd seen pictures of it, and I'd seen videos of it and stuff on social media and the internet and whatnot.
Yeah,
I'd never seen it in person. It was pretty cool. It was it was going right down my street, dude. It went right over my house. It was going
So I'm barbecuing, down there in the barbecue. It's that's probably about this time of night. And I see it. Well, it looks like a big orb. Mm-hmm. Like, holy crap, there's an orb. So I I don't know if did I show you the picture?
No.
So I have my phone right there, and I took it, and then I got a picture of it, and then so I blew it up, and that's what it came out.
Interesting.
I'm going to show it in the camera. For those of you that are on YouTube, anybody on Omni like Spotify or Apple, you're not going to see it. But if you go on YouTube, you'll be able to see the picture. This is one taken by me. I sent it to my MUFON contacts.
So like what? So that was like 6 o'clock at night, or
yeah, something like that. And I'll show it.
8.
I don't know if we can. How well we? Oops, I should point it out. I bet we're not going to be able to see it because it's a bit ugly. But it looks like something weird, right?
It looks like a giant dildo.
It looks.
Flying in the sky, kind of. Not that I know what a giant dildo looks like, but
it actually got. I have that like you do, the Flight Radar 24. So I sent it to MUFON. They asked me some questions. It wasn't a straight up report. I just because I'm a member, and I just said, "Hey, look what I just saw," and it was flying, from here to there. It was north to according toward your place.
Was it moving in a straight line?
Yeah, it looked like it was moving in a straight line to me. It wasn't going too terribly fast. It was kind of cruising, kind of like you said.
Yeah,
when you saw your thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap. Well, it's...
it didn't have any... Was it really high, or what do you...
No, it was probably... it was 20,000 feet, because I did a history, and it was actually a...
Oh, you saw it on Flight Radar?
Yeah, there you can do a history. It was a Cessna 560XL Citation XLS.
Okay.
And it has the time, because you can do a history of that time period. I said, well, let me do that exact time frame and see if anything was in the area.
Yeah.
I hit on, it was funny because I hit on Flight Radar 24 right when I did it. And I look and I go, there's nothing in the area. That is not a plane. That's not a plane that has a transponder. Right?
Right.
So I said, it's something. It's military. But what is it? It doesn't look like... But it's funny that image, it's funny.
See, that was the CHP that day, so I'm right there, right? So it was just looping. I almost think that the CHP plane was trying to see Starlink too. Like it's set up because the Starlink was going like right across this way.
Right, checking it out, and it was going to
launch.
Yeah,
maybe.
Because you can, you have, there's also a link you can get that when I was in Florida, my sister was down there, and my brother-in-law sent me an app called what is the app? Oh, it's called Space Launch. And
for the launches?
Yeah, every launch that's happening around here, it's got a list. Ours is Vandenberg. It'll be taking off at, and sometimes you can see it, sometimes you don't.
Oh, there's one going off in an hour?
Yeah, it's at 9:09. But I've never seen
9?
I've only seen one down in Rancho one time, and all you can see is like
that weird plume.
It looks like it just looks like a jet contrail.
It gets big.
But you look at it
when they do it at that time because it's like it'll be dark.
You might be, but I've seen it at night before, and
it's so high that it's getting the light that's blocked out.
But Vandenberg's down in Monterey or something like that. It's down that way. Is it down that way?
It's Central Coast. Yeah.
Yeah. So it launches, but it goes. The problem is it doesn't go our way all the time. So,
right.
But it usually goes east.
What's that app called? You're gonna have to text me that app so I can get that.
I'll send it.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's go. Let's take a step in a different direction that I want to talk about.
Let's do it.
Talked about.
All right.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh,
dude.
No.
Travis Taylor.
Travis Taylor.
Orb. Going up in the sky.
Effigy to Dr. Bill.
What are you on? Have you been watching the season?
Yeah, I've got a few episodes in. I'm going to talk about it with Elder. The guy.
Okay.
Elder's a huge fan.
Is he?
He is a huge fan.
I like the show too, but
I don't mind the show, but I just don't believe it. Just seems like it's a nothing burger.
So how far are you into this season?
Episode like 4.
Okay.
They've gotten.
All right.
Are they going to find something this time?
There's some cool stuff. This season. So I'm up to date. I think there was a new one last night. I haven't seen it yet. I think 12 was last night, maybe, or tonight.
They got that many in the season?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So it's been pretty good.
Yeah, well, I saw where they kept launching these rockets and shit, and then they're drilling into the mesa, and then they bang into them. There's something in the mesa that's either as tall as it is, or it's hard and they can't drill into it.
Yeah, so
no,
I don't want to spoil it for you.
No, don't spoil. We don't spoil
I'll
it for
just tell
everybody.
you that it kind of
is something. I just feel like it's the Oak Island with UFOs.
It started out really good this season, kind of hot and heavy with some.
Somebody else told me that, and then it petered out.
Yep. You've already heard it, and it's really kind of. And then
it went.
Out. I mean, they saw some really cool stuff,
but it hooked. It's what it does to make money.
But they just.
I don't know. It just.
I don't know. If you haven't seen it, we can't really talk about it. So
no, we can't.
But I have been listening to every episode of Serpo.
What do you think of
and
Serpo?
Serpo is fizzling out too a little bit.
Yeah, Serpo is kind of fizzling out.
You know what? It kind of started really cool in the beginning, and the voyage, and ever since they got to the planet, like it's just been kind of.
Now
like, come on, man.
Now it's going to be. They're coming back. That's what's good. They're coming back. Serpo, it's interesting though. There's a serpo.org. It's a website.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of information. Have you seen it?
No.
It's down now, and I don't know why they got taken down. You can't
taken down. You killed Serpo.
You can't. I killed Serpo,
dude.
But people will message me, and they enjoy the fact they like the concept.
It's fun.
They don't want to read the book. I go, well, you don't have to read the book just because we're literally going paragraph by paragraph.
It's
but it just tells the story, and then they're going to come home, and
there's a couple of things that just happened in this last episode where I can't remember what it was, but I was kind of like, come on, man, like that's.
Well, there's very little animal life there, which is weird. Here you have so much, and there they have 4 things.
There was just some things that seemed like. I mean, there was like you guys kept bringing up like Gene Roddenberry in Star Trek, and it was like it seemed very much like that. Like it was like when was the book written? Right?
Yeah,
like it was written.
Is that Star Trek?
It was very like somebody that grew up watching Star Trek wrote this book.
Well, they say
it was like
at the last MUFON meeting, our state director said she had some contact that had told her that not the original or Star Trek: The Next Generation, but like the DS9, the later ones, the aliens from that were fashioned on not actual, but the concept and the reality that we really have aliens, extraterrestrial biological entities here. So he's equating. We don't know if that's the whole thing you have to understand about Serpo. We don't know if it's just a science fiction book.
Right.
We're assuming it is. But we don't. Yeah. It's an interesting concept. Yeah. That's why I like it.
It's and remember,
but remember, if you've seen,
that's the trick with this book is that you don't know that if it's fiction or nonfiction.
No, if you've seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Sure,
right?
There's a picture of it right there. I showed you the picture page.
So let's see the picture. Okay, that's not the one I'm thinking of, but. At the end, you remember the guys with the glasses?
They went on the
That's Serpo. And those are the 12 people that are going to the Journey to the Planet Serpo. Spielberg, there's speculation that Spielberg had inside information when he did Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Right. And he integrated because they never explained what those are. Who those people are, what they're doing. Yeah, that's kind of. I've got about 3 books about the Habu. What do they call it? It's on there. Habu Bread, or it's got a name.
Dreadnought. Yeah.
It's got it's the Nazi flying saucer concept and that's the other thing. Did they go into the North Pole and bury?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, or South Pole, and
right. Because then I don't know. Isn't there's like you can't in Antarctica you can't go to the South Pole. I don't think they don't let people go there or something like that.
Yeah, there's speculation that there was a base there or there is a base there. I mean, there's so much weirdness. This could be where all our aliens are coming out of. We don't know.
Could be, could be from the ocean. So
you don't hear too much about any exploration there, but I'm sure it's not that exciting and really not newsworthy, maybe. But, but the book is, Spielberg actually talked to, who was it? Ronald Reagan. And Reagan was briefed in about Roswell, it's told. And that's part of this book, too, is that Reagan knew about Roswell and then the extraterrestrials that came out of there in the ship.
Yeah.
So Reagan watched the movie, and he was talking to Spielberg about the movie.
That's when he made the famous speech, the line about.
Well, he did that, but he talked to Spielberg, and he told Spielberg that that's more realistic than you can possibly believe.
Yeah.
And there's an actual witness to that conversation alive today that heard him say that. So, but again, back in the days when we thought all this we wanted it to be real, but we didn't really know if it was. But we follow the story. We'll see where it goes. It'll we're at the I think we got a few chapters left, and then
what were they saying? There's some they're talking about like the food. The food, they're like the food really isn't very good here, or something like that.
Well, it's all like all plain, and I think the concept is it's a two-tier society. It's like it's got the Ebens that are like, but they don't care that they're happy.
Yeah.
They don't know that there's, it's like we don't want to go there and change them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's always Serpo. I enjoy the story. I wish it was true. Maybe when all this comes out, dude.
Wouldn't that be a trip? If that was real, they were like, "Yeah, we've been in contact with him the whole time."
And that story, you heard that story about Planet Serpo? That's real.
We've had an exchange program going on for years. That's how we.
Yeah, they did DNA. The DNA experiments there are kind of weird, and but we're gonna wrap it up. JC, thank you.
It's been fun.
Thanks for joining me again.
Fun. Don't forget to answer that question.
Answer the question.
Are you as excited about disclosure as you were privately?
Before we think it's real?
Or are you starting to get a little bit twitchy about it?
Or do you want to ask the question after we know and we see some extraterrestrial biological entities? Or they keep changing the name and changes the agencies. That's why everything's, Arrow, and we could go on and on, but But thanks again for coming on. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe Podcast. We welcome comments, questions, requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook. Check out our website, alienprobe.net. Has all of our episodes. Twitter and Instagram at alienprobepod. YouTube, like and subscribe, Alien Probe Podcast. Thank you, JC. We got to watch the skies.
Watch the skies.
Watch the skies. Dr. Bill, you're up there and you're laughing.
Yeah.
You're probably laughing at this whole thing.
Dr. Bill.
We'll see you next week.